Reentry. This is going to be a 3-hour event, and we just welcome everyone and thank you for showing up. What we're going to do first, I just want to let you know, my name is Theron Taylor. Obviously, I'm the host. We have a special, to keep you guys engaged. We're going to do a drawing for some gift cards, Starbucks gift cards. They're worth $8. And I may ask a couple of questions and have you guys answer it. Don't yell it out or anything like that. Just raise your hand and I'll pick someone. And then two, I'll have a visual aid and I'll ask you about that question too, to win some of the gift cards that we have this evening, okay? All right. So, first of all, let's give a round of applause for everyone that's here, man. You're a beautiful crowd, and I thank you for showing up. So, one thing I like to say is to lighten the crowd, and is that I know that the mask mandate has been lifted in here, and I guess when we go into the office Monday, we may see some new employees, huh? Right? So yeah, that's always going to be nice to reintroduce ourselves to our coworkers. So, but anyway, let's go ahead and get this started. Our next actual thing, what we have going on is going to be, it's something integrated called land acknowledgement. And what we have is from Michael Hall and his mother, Ramona Bennett. They're from the Puyallup tribal members, and they're going to do what they do best. So give a round of applause for Michael and Ramona.
My name is Michael Hall, a.k.a. Buckley, a.k.a. Buck. This is my mother, Ramona Bennett, and she's from the Puyallup tribe. She helped get it recognized, and she's an amazing woman. I've been lucky enough to be adopted by her at an early age, so I was culturally intact. And I've been through some trouble in my life, but I was able to turn it around and get my life straightened out through culture. And so the song I'm going to sing is, or share, is a floor blessing song, a land blessing song. Should uplift everybody's spirits, leave everything that you don't need to drag around with you at the door. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. The song was gifted to us from our Creator and gifted to one of our ancestors now, David Duenas. And my brother Byron here is going to go around and smudge the building and smudge us off and clear our thoughts. We are. report to my brother Lockshot, also known as Ramon Bennett. Here you are.
Thank you. I don't know how much you know about the background of this school, but many, many years ago, Maxine Mims and Joy Hardiman had a thought and prayer, and they wanted Evergreen State College to come to Tacoma, and nobody would give them any space. So they came to the tribe. And a long time ago, Tom Dixon gave me space when our tribe had nothing. And he gave me a desk and a typewriter and a secretary and a copy machine and a place to work. And our tribe was Ushababatud, poor. We were on empty. Our tribe had lost 3 court cases and we didn't exist. And I had managed to build a couple of buildings with CETA funds. The only one in the country that built anything was CETA funds, but I had built a building and I had a conference room and I had a courtroom. And I let Maxine and Joy use those rooms for classes. And so that's where Evergreen State College started here in Tacoma. It was actually right there in the Puyallup Cemetery. And blessings. It's grown and it's doing exactly what those women wanted it to do. It's reaching out and educating people who might otherwise not be able to make it to Everett or mix in at UPS or PLU. We have this, and it's teaching us right where we need to be taught, teaching us what we need to be taught, and I'm grateful for that. And so I say welcome to our Puyallup place. Our original reservation included Ruston Way. It included Point Defiance Park. It included all of this land. And then they reassigned us out to Fife and Browns Point and Dash Point and the east side of Tacoma. They promised us 23,000 acres. They lost 5,000 in the survey, and they pushed us over to the east side. So this property and Point Defiance and Ruston Way and the north end are still Puyallup Reservation. I can't find that they ever abolished it when they shoved us out of the way. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm home, and you're with us in our home, and we welcome you, and we're grateful for this wonderful opportunity that everybody has here. I actually graduated from the Evergreen campus down by Olympia, and there's no better place than Evergreen. It's a wonderful opportunity, and the way it's managed and the courses are set up, they exactly meet our needs. And so I thank Grandfather Creator for blessing us with this wonderful opportunity and for leading Charles, oh, there's Charles. He is my son that graduated from Evergreen here and went on to the University of Washington to do a master's program. So, welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I just can't lay off the history. No, it's okay. I'll give you your mic back
Did anyone find that awkward by what I just did? I apologize. No, she said she was done. She did. She did. Okay, great. Well, that is so wonderful for Michael Hall and his wonderful mother, Ramona Bennett. Thank you guys for that.
I didn't introduce Byron Flacker.
Byron Flacker? Introduce yourself, sir. Yes, go ahead.
Byron Carter, tribal member.
And that's what we're all about. That's why we're here, right? We want to help those to get education and to know that this place was one of the first to allow our native families, our hosts, to come to this school and get an education. That's so wonderful. So thank you again. All right, so we're just going to move on to the next event, the next episode, as my son would say. One of the things what we're going to do is we have a WASCoR introduction, and we're going to go right into speakers right after that. And to kick it off is our lovely contributor who started this whole thing. Seems like if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't be here. So I would like to introduce Michelle Bruchette to come up here and introduce WASCoR and talk about the history of the district.
Thank you, Darren. Hi, everybody. Aloha. Welcome. Really excited for this event tonight. My name is Michelle Noelani Keokagi Burchett. I am an Indigenous Hawaiian woman. I am formerly incarcerated college graduate student, and I'm also in recovery. I'm just going to share with you kind of how I got involved with organizing this group and a little bit about myself. And just to note, organizing a Washington State formerly incarcerated network had been in the minds of formerly incarcerated students long before I accepted the Campus Compact Fellowship last year. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. So I saw the opportunity and I approached Dr. Chris Beasley from UW. And I was interested in it for two main reasons. First, it offered me $2,500. And at the time, I was working for a friend of mine who owned a house on the hilltop. When I was managing this house, it was a supportive housing nonprofit. And I'd been working there for 4 years, and I wasn't making much money. So $2,500 was needed. But secondly, and most importantly, was it gave me the opportunity to explore an area of my lived experience that needed some exploration. So I was all for it. I told Chris, yes, let's do it. And we met a couple of times, and then he sent me an email, and he asked for a bio and a headshot. And I immediately, and so this just is one example of shows up for someone like me who has come into academia later in life due to my lived experience. So I didn't really know what the campus compact was, but I thought I could do it anonymously somehow, and that wasn't the reality. And I immediately was filled with trepidation, and I was terrified. I was terrified that I had to place my name next to incarceration because of stigma and discrimination, something that I'm familiar with. Like I said, I am in recovery, and so it's something I have struggled with for a large portion of my life. So I backpedaled and I respectfully declined. I had other things going on too, but the driving force of my decision was fear. So as a woman in recovery, when a topic comes up that causes me to react the way that I did, then it wasn't just fear, it was shame. It's an area that I know that I need to take a look at and explore a little further. And that's what I did. I immediately started calling friends of mine in recovery and working it out. Why was I so afraid? What was the shame? And so the end result was that my sister, out of all people, who incidentally, my older sister, she's beautiful, she's my inspiration, and she's one of my best friends too. Her life exemplifies kind of what society looks at as a really successful life. My life was very, very opposite of my sister. I took alternate directions, right, that led to other places. And anyway, she told me that shame had no place, and anyone who's successful, anyone who's confident, anybody who is a professional and is going to continue to move forward is not ashamed of their past. So with that, I called Dr. Beasley and said, okay, I changed my mind. And it happened to be a Saturday morning, and they were doing a winter symposium like this. Do you believe that felons deserve a second chance? A resounding 70% of those students said no. And I was, mind you, I had already said yes to the project, but that was the momentum that I needed to power through. I was angry because what they were saying is that I didn't deserve to be there, right? And I was there, and I was thriving. So I contacted a student I had just met who I knew was familiar with the landscape because I was not, in terms of organizing, in terms of reentry. So I contacted Stephen Simmons, and I asked him if he would mentor me. I asked him if he would work with me. I asked him if he would partner with me. And he said yes. So Stephen and I began working together for the next 3 months. At this point, we had 6 months to come up with a project that was presentable, and we did that. By April or May, we held 3 separate meetings, and it was a Washington formerly incarcerated student summit. And it was great. It was very successful. We had a good turnout. And that was the beginning of what is the Washington Student Council on Reentry. After that summit came to a close, we continued meeting, and then school, of course, was coming to a close as well. A handful of students, dedicated students, brilliant students, passionate students, continued to meet throughout the summer. And we still meet today. And so we were meeting in the summer, and we were discussing ideas and projects that we could do for the upcoming school year. This event was one of those projects. And I'm so grateful to be here tonight. And here's the thing. So that shame that I experienced a year ago, or a little over a year ago, I don't feel that today. I feel empowered. Because I am a survivor. I have overcome and changed my life's trajectory. And so I'm just here to say that if I can do it, so too can others, right? And that's what WASCoR is about. We are a group of formerly incarcerated students, and we want other formerly incarcerated students to join us. And because it's the collective, right? It's not one person. So, with that, I think I'll pass it off to Theron. Thank you.
I'm up here juggling here. Hands on. This is good. I like this. So what I want to do real quick is just give some information about those, who go to college and the percentage of those who go on to be successful and how difficult it is without an education, right? Because that's what we're shooting for, is to let those who are formerly incarcerated or formerly justice impacted or formerly incarcerated who want to go to school, that there is support in individuals like Michelle starting programs and allowing us to those who graduate get a higher degree. So from high school to college graduate, the general public with no college degree is 66%. A college degree is 34%, and that's for the general public. But for those who are formerly incarcerated, with no degree is 95%. And those who seek a college degree is less than 5%. So those numbers are very skewed, right? So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and get those numbers where they need to be and help those who are looking for higher education and get them in the right place, okay? So next, we have our speaker, still going with the speakers here. We have Andre Henderson, another member of WASCoR and FISA at UWT. So Andre, come on up here, man.
So hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming out today. I want to thank you all for coming together to be with us today to build community, and for all of your leadership in your respective communities, and for being trailblazers in this great and growing movement of reentry. I also want to thank Michelle. You did a great job representing us. Thank you, Darren. And I don't know where they went, but I just wanted to say that was, I feel very blessed by that welcoming and land acknowledgement, and the culture that's in this room. And so they're not here, but I want to thank them again. So we're leading the way in realizing our true potential as for humanity, as a society, as student leaders, community leaders, and community builders. We show up for one another, and and that's what we're here to do today. There's a quote that I like to use in this context, and it's kind of disputed over where it originated from. But the quote says that the true greatness of a nation can be measured by how it treats its most vulnerable citizens. The incarcerated and formerly incarcerated communities have certainly been amongst those most vulnerable populations. But today we are leading the way in deconstructing systems of punishment and oppression. and rebuilding communities of compassion and opportunity. So I am, did I say my name? Andre Anderson? I'm a little nervous too, and I don't know why. I feel pretty comfortable. I will. So I'm an education officer with WASCoR, and I am also the president of the formerly incarcerated Students Association at UWT. And, you know, I just want to say, take a moment to say how important that community is to me. And when I first started, you know, attending community college, I really had no idea of what community was, because for me, I had always saw myself as being locked out of society, locked out of institutions, locked, you know, or locked out of access to resources. And so I really didn't trust anyone from an institution or a teacher or a police officer or doctors, or, you know, and that was something that was common in my own personal and immediate community. And today, I found that that's the exact medicine that we need to heal us from our isolation and our sicknesses of isolation, whether it be, you know, drug addiction, incarceration, you know, many systemic barriers that divide us. It's this building of community that has, you know, provided the medicine and provided the way for us to begin to heal. And so it's kind of, you know, thinking about how we come together in some of that community. You know, many of us come to it through, you know, bad or negative circumstances like incarceration. And so we have some shared experiences, even though they're not all the same. A lot of times I hear people tell their stories, and I kind of realize that their story is my story. You know, many of us come from intersectional identities of oppression. We come from poverty, disenfranchisement, systemic racism, genderism, ableism, and many more isms, all the isms. Many of us know what rock bottom looks like. And we know what it is to not have freedom or choice. We know the shame and guilt of letting down our loved ones and ourselves. We know the stigma we all face when our jobs, schools, neighbors, and landlords found out about our criminal convictions. And we know the fear of being asked for a background check. We know what belonging uncertainty feels like, and imposter syndrome. And sometimes we have survivor's guilt because we know all too well that there's many of us that didn't make it. But despite all of those shared experiences, many of us are sitting in this room today and doing the work in our schools and our communities because we also know change, growth, perseverance, and determination. I mean, look at what we're building together. I can't speak for all of us, but when I was at my rock bottom in life, I found something that was unexpected. I found something in my valley that I don't believe I could have ever found at any mountaintop. I found power, purpose, and perspective that changed my life. And I found a fire within me that changed my direction. At that point, my choices were either live or die, and I chose to live. My suspicion is that any of you who've been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I wanted to come and talk to you today about, you know, civic engagement and leadership. But as I was trying to come up with something and trying to write something to talk about, I realized that, I'm not an expert in civic engagement and leadership. And I'm sitting in a room full of community leaders. So I don't need to tell you the importance of what we do. And, you know, the struggle and the blessing of what it takes for us to come together. But I am an authority on my own story. some of the journey that led me to be the community leader that I am today. As I share my story, my hope is that many of you will see your stories as well. So back in 2020, I was invited to the National Achieving the Dream Conference in Washington, D.C. as a Dream Scholar. I was representing Olympic Community College at the time, and prior to the conference, we were given an assignment to write a poem about where we were from. And I want to share that poem with you today. I want to share that poem with you in the spirit of Sankofa. And I swear I did not set this up, but if any of you know what Sankofa is, it's a term taken out of the Asante Twi language of Western Africa, Ghana. And its symbol is a bird flying forward with his head turned back with a precious egg in his mouth and his feet facing forward. And there he is right there. That is the symbol of Sankofa. And I just think that it really represents our incarcerated and formerly incarcerated communities, because many times we were those that were lost and we were forgotten. And what this Sankofa translates to is that it's not wrong to go back and retrieve what was forgotten. And today, many of us are using our past, personal, and collective experiences to light the way into a brighter tomorrow. And so, in this spirit, I want to share with others this morning. And this is where I'm from. I'm from Midwestern United States. I was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, a city on the Mississippi River, historically known as the gateway to the West. I am from summertime, which was my favorite season in those days. I am from the luminescent glow of fireflies as children give chase to capture their magic. I am from the deafening sound of 1,000 cicadas flicking their wings as the males sing their typical songs. I am from humidity that clings to me and glistens on my dark skin on a hot and windless night. I am from light and darkness. I am from city streets littered with broken glass and shattered dreams. I am from neighborhoods lined with vacant lots and empty buildings. I am from gunshots that ring out in the middle of the day and the middle of the night. The sad thing about it is you get used to it. I am from the American ghetto. It really doesn't matter which one. They are all built, shaped, and divided by violence and oppression. They are all marked by historical trauma and the destruction of community and culture. I am from darkness and light. I am from mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother who have been given the burden and blessing of raising our families and communities. I am from the lessons of their hopes and their fears. I am from sweet potatoes, collard greens, fried chicken, and peach cobbler, soul food. I am from the tunes of Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson, and Aretha Franklin, to name a few, soul music. I am from family get-togethers in the park and playing childhood games with my little sister and brother and lots of cousins. We may not have had much, but we had each other, and that had to be enough. I am from togetherness, soul healing. I am from searching for my father who was not in my life and hoping that I can learn to be a man all on my own. I am from finding my father, only repeating the same mistakes, his same mistakes with my own children. I was never able to be close to my father, but I now know some of what he must have went through. I am from intergenerational cycles of struggle and poverty. I am from drug addiction to recovery. I am from incarceration to higher education. I am from light that has always guided me. I am also from darkness within. I am from pain that I've caused as well as endured. I am from better days are coming in. I am from helplessness and brokenness, a place where I had submitted to defeat. It is from this helplessness and brokenness where I prayed and was lifted to my feet. I'm from this time I'll do it differently. I am from I'll never hurt you again. I'm from a determination to help my children. I'm from forgiveness. I'm from change. I am a man. So this poem, to me, is about running away, seeking, failing, and forgiveness, all in order to find my way home. And it's about a revelation of long-awaited answers, only to find that the answers were always within me. It's about resilience, acceptance, and awakening. And it's about seeing where we are from to know where we are going. And what I can see now cannot be unseen. I am forever changed. Thank you all for letting me share that with you. Thank you all for being part of my journey.
All right, way to go, Andre. Oh man, that's a wonderful poem. We appreciate that. I remember when I first met Andre, we were at UWT and with him now being the president of FISA, right? I went down as a founding member. I was the vice president of FISA before, but we had to pass down our membership. But when he met me, he saw me, he said, "Oh man, Darren, see you on Zoom calls all the time. I thought you'd be a little bit taller." And I was like, well, you know, it is what it is, right? So, and we know about those Zoom calls, right? I mean, we're looking at everybody, man, we're just like, man, what's going on with these Zoom calls, right? It's great to be here in person, right? I mean, I've done so many of those Zoom calls. I felt like I had to check that little box that said I'm not a robot, right? So I'm glad Andre wasn't a robot when I met him. So that's pretty cool, man. And thank you again for that. So what we do, we have a special guest speaker, Dr. Tate Arunga, Dean at Evergreen College here at the Tacoma campus. All right.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. So glad you're here. You're a great crowd. Just want to welcome you here to Evergreen State College, Tacoma, where I am the dean and where we are always looking for students, so you feel welcome. And if you don't have your degree, this is a fabulous place to come and get your degree, so you are welcome. We can talk about that. Where do I begin? I have never been incarcerated. I had great dreams of being a teacher, and in 2001 I started teaching adult learners at Seattle Central College. And my first step, I gravitated toward Monroe Prison, where I found the Black Prisoners Caucus. And I began to teach there. I taught there and was establishing at the same time with my colleague, Carol Estes, a program called University Behind Bars. I believe now it's called University Beyond Bars. But this was really coming out of a circle of Black men who formed that circle every week and began to talk in dialogue and form community, like I've been hearing about today. Hearing that community is forming here is absolutely essential. And so I was really honored to be a part of that circle. But here's the thing, I went to Monroe for almost a decade as a teacher. And one of the things I noticed, and one of the elephants I think in the room, whenever I'm talking to people who understand the incarceration experience, is racism is rampant inside the prison. Let's be clear. We're talking about welding. I could not find Black students who were even given that opportunity. The opportunities they were given was to be in that circle, and volunteer teachers would come and teach them. Now, my colleague, Willie Williamson, he's since passed away, spent more than a decade at Monroe working with this Black Prisoners Caucus, and one day he gets this contract. It's called Giving It Right. And this was money now, this was a grant, this was now part of the system. So I come marching into Monroe, and there were no Black men in that circle. That was completely 100% a white audience ready to learn how to get it right. How are they gonna get out and be successful and not recidivate into prison? And it was fine. I'm a teacher. I would teach anyone who's willing to be a student, anyone who's willing to learn. But it taught me very quickly. Now, those brothers were given the job to mop, they were given the job in the kitchen, they were given a job to do something menial, no problem. But a job with skills was not available to them. And so, because of that, we became even more and more committed that we wanted to find college credit for these students. And we had to go all the way to the University of Ohio to find credit that we could give people, bona fide teachers, very qualified, all volunteers, wanting to help to bring up the educational skill sets of those students. Because we knew that 2/3 of the people, when you are educated, you are 75% likely to not recidivate. So that we know that's the answer. But who it was available to and who got that opportunity, I just want you to know there is segregation inside the prison system. And don't think about, I want us to go back to the reason why we even got the incarceration system, very much grounded in slavery and post-slavery in this country. So it was on the backs of my people that even the prison system was built. And now here we are in 2001 it was when I entered the Monroe prison to find that this was a segregated system. Some people were learning, getting a few skill sets, others were not, and it was all based on race. So I just thought we need allies. And work is going on out here in huge ways. And the people who sat in those circles, many of them have come out. Many have come out and have not gone back in. As a matter of fact, I'm just from Tukwila, where there's a base building exercise going on with the People's Institute, Undoing Racism Everywhere. And there are many members of the Black Prisoners Caucus who are sitting in a circle right now. I just left them because I wanted to come and be with you this afternoon. And I thought about that word ally, and I just want to make sure we're real clear. We don't need allies. We need abolitionists. Not only to abolish incarceration, and I'd be happy to abolish any system that has a slavery at the heart of its institution. It has to be gotten rid of. When we look at the United States as the highest number of incarceration in the world, we know something's wrong with our society, as it has been said today. But abolition is a different thing. It goes deeper than just saying, oh, I agree that, people need to come out of prison, that we need to assist, all right? What we need to do is really interrogate the system and actually come up with ways in which we might eliminate that system and the need for that system. So I think we can't just abolish the prison right away. We have to look at from the very beginning of life. And we have to now begin to look at our communities. What are we forming that is creating healthy and thriving people? And in that, what are the problems that people are gravitating to that give them a sense of need to be in we talked about drug addiction, we have talked about violence. All these things are bred, as Martin Luther King says, violence really is the language of people who have no power. And so, as we talk about abolition, I was in I finished my PhD at Antioch University, so their headquarters is in Yellow Springs, Ohio. And there are many homes in Yellow Springs where abolitionists lived. And I was really blessed to be in a home. And do you know when this home had 2 chambers, not 1 basement, it had 2 basements. It had chambers that were secret and private. And white people lived in these homes. And Harriet Tubman and many, many other Harriet Tubmans who lived around that time knew where these people lived. And when they got there, those people were harbored, the runaway slaves, or the enslaved people, because I never called them slaves. They never came here as slaves, and they were not slaves. They were human beings. We also have to come to terms with that. But when these people were placed, they were not placed into 1 basement. They were taken to the basement and then taken to another basement chamber where they were hidden. Now, the owner of that house knew that if he was found out, or she were found out that they were harboring these people, they were about to lose their life. All right? And that's what an abolitionist is. See, the abolitionist is in the trenches with the people. They are ready to give up their life for what they believe is right. So we can, as we sit here and talk about the predicament of incarceration and the need to abolish it, we have to understand that interrogation of self, how far are we willing to go to make sure that we are not just abolishing prison, abolishing the reason why prisons exist, but even further creating a better world that doesn't exist because prison is where the highest number of people are being sent and locked up. And so I think abolition is what we're looking for. It's a much more serious, deep dedication. And I believe that the way Evergreen State College Tacoma was established was the same kind of idea. Dr. Mims actually established the first Evergreen State College in her kitchen. And she told people, black people in here in this Tacoma area who had not been invited, didn't even know the way to Olympia to go to Evergreen State College. And they were complaining that this great college was being built with a very cutting edge and liberatory pedagogy. And this Dr. Mims was actually driving an hour away to educate people who did not look like her. And she heard people talking about her in a restaurant, where the big booth is. She was on one side of the booth, and people were talking about her on the other side of the booth. And she got up and she went to them and she said, okay, I've heard you talking. I'm the woman you're talking about. If you want to be educated, come to my house on Saturday morning and I will educate you. And she started with 7 people around her kitchen table. And I heard our elder, Ramona Bennett, talk about the first house that moved out of Dr. Mims' kitchen was the Puyallup Indian tribe, where no one else would have accepted this growing, budding institution, the Puyallup Indian tribe. Small house. We look today at that big that big monstrosity on the freeway, and we're like, wow, they really have it. Actually, that grew in our lifetime. We're talking about a little tiny house, and she was generous enough to say, bring your college here. And it moved to many places before it came and settled in the location we are now. I want to just honor the Puyallup Indian tribe for not only for the ground we stand on, but also for the foresight they had to partner with Dr. Mims to have Evergreen State College Tacoma. So we're fighters. That's what we are. We are fighters. We want to make it right. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it right for all of humanity. And let us begin with coming together as a community and get in that circle. When we had the Black Prisoners Caucus, they were meeting pretty strong, and they were starting to build that voice. And many of them started getting out. And one day I remember the skinheads, the whole group, it was just about 4 or 5 of them. And they came to the Black Prisoner Caucus meeting and they sat in a circle. And they said, we don't really even like you guys, but let us, we've been watching you. You get out. You are rehabilitating. You are improving your lives. We want in. And do you know the Black Prisoners Caucus said, welcome. And so I guess it does go back to community building. But it goes back to community building with honesty. And I think we have to be very clear about what racism looks like. What racism looks like in this room, what it looks like in incarceration, what it looks like in this society. Because it is inextricably linked with the conditions we're facing with this incarceration condition. It is all about racism at the bottom. We need to reject and deconstruct racism, just as we are about to deconstruct incarceration. So with that, this is an institution that invites you to come and do that thinking. Let's dig deep into what it is we really need to undo in order to make our society better. So with that, I just say welcome. Let's keep doing the thinking. Let's keep doing the work. Thank you.
Well, I enjoyed that, and I want to make it right myself, and I apologize for calling you a guest speaker, because this is your house. I apologize to you, okay? So, we're actually filling in some space here. I know my stomach is kind of getting grumbling. But what I want to do first, because like I said at the beginning, if you guys remember, I have some gift cards I want to give away, right? So, and they're for Starbucks. So I'm going to ask a question, and when I do ask the question, please don't yell it out. Please don't yell it out, because then nobody gets a gift card, because I don't have gift cards for everybody, right? So anyway, I would love for you to just raise your hand, and I will pick on you, and if you get the right answer, you get a gift card. If you don't, I'll pick the next person, right? So, I'm going to make the first one very difficult, and so bear with me. I like to start with the hard things first, and we did a lot easier as we go, right? So, for the first Starbucks gift card, the question is, what is the Washington State recidivism rate? And it's actually based on a 3-year data. I only see one hand. Wow, he was right here. He was just 30%. Excuse me? 30%. Okay, you're actually really close, and I apologize, but I'm going to go with the next one. My man right here in the brown coat. 24%. Okay, no. Lady in the black and red jacket.
40%.
All right, that's too much. So what I'm going to do, okay, one more.
31. 31.
Oh, actually, hey, there we go. You're the closest one is actually 32%. So, sir, come on, and that's, yes, that's serious, right? So, come on and be serious part. Thank you so much. All right, did you homework?
Yeah.
All right, there you go. That's what I'm talking about, man. We have to know these things, right? Because that's the only way we're going to change, right? We're going to change things. So what I want to do next is we have a little bit more time. I want to invite Michelle back up to talk about our vision and mission statements here at WASCoR.
Hi, you guys. Hello, you guys. Sorry. So first of all, before I do the vision and mission statement, I would like to share one of our shared community values for WASCoR. Our shared community values probably took us longer than anything. We focused on those for months. Eliminating recidivism is perhaps the most viable abolition tactic we can pursue. That inhibit the ability of the formerly incarcerated person to engage in their reintegration into the larger society upon release. We also understand that incarceration has become the de facto government intervention for people experiencing mental health issues. This injustice greatly impacts our society and community's ability to stay free from incarceration. If we engage our friends, neighbors, and family members as they re-enter our communities with resources they need to survive and help them to engage in opportunities for personal advancement, healing, and transformation, we can end the cycle of release and reincarceration known as recidivism. In this project, we can stem the flow of bodies into institutions of incarceration, and we will see the closure of these buildings in our state. So our mission as a group, as a formerly incarcerated student group, and it's on our programs. As currently and formerly incarcerated students, we seek to break barriers and pursue our education and career goals. Do the structural work necessary to create doorways where barriers existed so that future generations of formerly incarcerated persons can enter our communities freely. To continue the work in new and more integrated efforts. And then our vision. So we envision a world, we imagine a world where incarceration and recidivism are eliminated by strengthening and healing our communities. A world where access to existing resources is increased, new resources are developed, conditions of incarceration are improved, and the economic and structural barriers to the successful social reintegration of formerly incarcerated peoples are dismantled. Thank you. And food should be here any minute, you guys.
Okay, thank you again, Michelle. So, well, I might as well do one more gift card, right? Okay, so the next question is, what does the letters WASCoR stand for?
Washington State Council on Reentry.
No. Real close. That lady right there.
Washington Student Council on Reentry.
Yes, that's it. Washington Student Council. Washington State. I know it's a little profile. Come on, get your gift card. Here you go. All right, here we go. All right. So, yes, we're actually waiting on our food and things like that, but we do have food that was brought by our guests and by those who put on the spaces of reentry. So we can enjoy that, and then as we enjoy that, it's going to be a whole 45-minute break. So why don't we just make and enjoy each other for about 45 minutes? Sounds good? All right, thank you.
What? So, I mean, all levity, right? It's fun games, but right, it gives me purpose, right? And it helps me provide a better world for my daughter to walk through, right?
JJ.
All right, so what brings me to WASCoR? And like I was gonna kind of leave this alone, but I think a little more history here for y'all just to understand. Chris Beasley back there, when I was a justice-involved student group coordinator on our Evergreen campus, or on our Olympia campus, Chris Beasley was like, hey, y'all want to come down to California with me to Cal State LA for the students, formerly incarcerated students alumni conference? And we were struggling with our group. We're like, how do we get more people involved, right? And so we're like, yeah, we need to go down there and see if we can figure this thing out, how to build this thing, right? And so we went down there and we started asking them, and they said, JJ, just build it and they will come. right? And so that's what we did. We built that, and then we started talking about, me, Chris, and Billy Sweetser, he's not here today. We started talking about, we need to, because we've seen all these fabulous organizations in California, Project Rebound, Underground Scholars, RISE, these different organizations that were all led by formerly incarcerated people, students, and alumni, right? And they all started out as these student groups, right? Grassroots movements, and then they got institutionalized as the institutions. And so now all of those organizations, this is what I want y'all to understand, WASCoR members. There's opportunity. You have an opportunity here to build something great that can turn into careers, right? And so that's what they did in California, and they got this network of these groups, right? They're way ahead of Washington State that way. We're doing some things better than they are in California, but that part, right? They're doing way better than us. So that's where the idea, we came up here, and then I started working with Stephen, hooked up with Stephen. We met in a different organization called Civil Survival. We jumped ship on that one for reasons. I ain't gonna go into that, but that's where we met. And then we started talking about this statewide network of formerly incarcerated students and groups that we wanted to do. And we were getting close to getting this thing, and then COVID hit. And then some other disappointments from people that were saying they were supporting our work, but they wanted to put their name and on things, and they wanted, you know, to control us with money and stuff, or not give us the money that we needed, the money that we deserved, right? Money that was made from the work that we were doing, right? And so, and then COVID hit and it kind of fell off, and then Michelle got her fellowship, and as I understand it, reached out to Stephen. Stephen reached out to me, and they had that first summit, and I am now a professional staff. I'm an education reentry navigator for the Evergreen State College. I'm also a Reentry Scholars Program facilitator. That's going to change here real soon. I just lost my train of thought right there. And so anyway, Michelle got that fellowship, hooked up with Stephen. Stephen asked me, and then they had that first summit, and we're all talking, and I was like, you know what? You know, you all need to build the organization that you want. I'm gonna support you all in any way I can, right? But this is a student thing, and I'm a staff. You know, I'll come here and help you with resources and stuff like that. And so they came to me and said, hey, JJ, and so what's up with UWT? Why are we having all you UWT people? Why isn't this event over there? You over here at Evergreen now, Evergreen Tacoma, right? Okay. So anyway, I was thinking about that the whole time. But anyway, they say they like it better here, all right? And so. And then they came to me, hey, JJ, would Evergreen Tacoma host this event? And I'm like, yeah, I can make it happen. Let me talk to Dr. Tatarunga. And Dr. Tatarunga was like, yeah, JJ, we got you, right? Because that's what they're all about here, community. And then I really tried to stay out of this and not be here today and try to, but somehow I ended up here, and here I am, and doing all this, right? And I don't mind. It's cool to be here with y'all, but that's how I got here to this event for WASCoR.
Well, all right. Okay. Well, one thing I'm going to take away from that is community, okay? It seems like it took the community to get you here, right?
Right. Well, one thing I always say, don't ask questions you don't want to hear the answer for.
Well, there you go. That's a leading question on to where I'm going to do next. We're going to hear from the community. How about that? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask one person to raise their hand, whoever has questions, and I'm going to come by and I'm going to see if you can go ahead and stop the panel.
What do you think is important for people who work with our community who have never been incarcerated? Like what should they keep in mind when they're working with us?
Anyone you guys can answer? Or all?
I'll say one of the biggest things to keep in mind is do not make assumptions about the population that you're serving. Just because you've heard one person's story or one person's experience doesn't mean that you should cast a blanket over all people who are formerly incarcerated. We're all unique individuals with unique lives, unique circumstances, unique barriers, and there's no cookie cutter solution. You can't treat us all the same. The same path is not going to be what gets us to our goals. That's my biggest thing.
I think one of the main things to remember is that, right? You talk about we need second chances, right? How many second chances, right? As many as it takes, right? Because with that chance that's denied could be the one, right? Right? So I think it's key to remember that, like, we served our sentence, right? We're re-entering the community, right? Grace, I mean, we're humans. People make mistakes, they should be allowed to make mistakes, and they should also allow to rise up from those mistakes.
Anyone else? Anyone else have a question? Put your hand up.
I think
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say something.
Go ahead.
That piggybacking on what you said about the grace, those of you who support what we're trying to do, it's really hard. And trying to overcome the stigma is really, really hard. And those of you who support us when we're doing that, you will never know how much that means. And we won't forget it.
I got something here to be fair too, right? And so, one of the biggest things I think for people who are working with formerly incarcerated people that they need to learn, they need to understand the historical significance of mass incarceration first, right? You need to understand how we got here, right? And if you can understand that, that's going to help you to start exercise those unconscious and conscious biases that you may have for us, right? Because what you're going to learn is you're going to learn that it's less about crime and more about it's a socioeconomic question linked to race and class, right? And so once you can kind of get yourself past that whole crime criminal thing, right, and then start understanding the complexity of the people that you're working with. We're complex people. We love, we live, we die, all those different things, right? We ain't just like on some one-track thing. And the reason why I was in prison, I don't like to make, it's such a systemic issue. It has nothing really to do with crime or a person's moral character, right? And that's what if you can get to that and start seeing us fully as human, right? Then that's going to be the best way that you can support us, right? And I'm not talking, I don't want no sympathy or thing. I don't see myself as a victim. I see my people as being victimized. But we're some of the most resilient people on the planet. Think about what we've lived through in incarceration, being locked in cages. All the trauma that comes with that, right? We're traumatized people, right? I had to learn how trauma lives in my body so that I would respond rather than react. Today, I know when I'm getting activated and about to, step up, and so, in language changes culture, right? So don't refer to us as convicts, offenders, inmates. We're incarcerated people. We're formerly incarcerated people. We're system-impacted people. Humanize the language, right? Because it's easy to look at a convict and not see that complex human. You just see a convict, right? So humanize. And I'm going to say one of the things that worked for me in college in student leadership, my first college was Highline Community College. 74% students of color. Great programming there, right? somebody said, JJ, you need to be in student leadership. I was like, yeah, right. I'm kind of old. They're kind of square over there, right? But it wasn't that I didn't want to be around people that are, quote, square or whatever, right? It's what I didn't think I'd fit in. But that community hugged me in, right? Which allowed me to exercise that internalized convict, right? And make that paradigm shift to student and scholar. That's the important stuff. Treat people like humans. You don't gotta treat us with kids' gloves, right? You don't gotta treat us, treat us the way that you would treat anybody else, with dignity and respect.
And I apologize, please state your name before you ask the question.
I'll say my name. My name is Gregory Steen. Been out about 8 months, sitting on a life sentence for about 12 years. And, I passed that SB 5164. That was my calling. So, all praises be to God for that release. So I'm going to be a college student in the spring. All the college classes that you on the panel have taken, which one has been the most beneficial to you the most today, and why?
My favorite class as an undergraduate was taking Gateways for Incarcerated Youth. I did most of my growing in that class, and different faculty teaches it each year. I did most of my learning about who's incarcerated. I did most of my learning about the origination of incarceration, and I stopped making a list of the books I wanted to read, and I started reading them. And I no longer, if I don't have time to read something, I don't put a book on a list. I order it and put it on my shelf because I know I'll read it. And one of the things, you can't judge a book by its cover, a person, at all. Because one of the things that I like to say about myself that's true and no one would ever guess is that I'm straight out of Compton. And that's where I hail from. So I'm proud of that. And I tried to go to school here, but they wouldn't let me at that time because I had to enter through the Upside Down program. And now that I'm living in Olympia to attend the graduate program, in the spring I'm attending my first class here, and that's the mass incarceration class. Because I definitely know when I was in the Gateways class, it made me know that where I'm meant to be and what happened to me and how I ended up here is because I am meant to help decarcerate this country. And I'll do it.
Yeah, well, that's a huge question, right? Because like where I sit right now is a culmination of knowledge and classes. They're all kind of stacked on top of each other. I think one of the most striking classes that I had was kind of my first semester, first quarter at UWT, and it was just a history class, history of social welfare, right? And it's like a history of America's systems that you don't learn, right? It tells you how all these systems start, from the friendly helpers, who are these basically housewives that go into poor people's homes and make snap judgments and decisions and decide to remove their children or put them in poorhouses, to the return of enslaved persons back to the plantation, right, through incarceration, right, for menial offenses. Standing on a corner without any money, right? We're gonna put you back on the chain gang. things like that. And these are little pieces of American history that have been so whitewashed, right, and like left out of history, right, of the common understanding of who we are as a nation. And I found that piece very important, right, because it gave me a perspective that, I mean, it's just like, of course I know everything's messed up and confused and horrible and hard and difficult, but this like painted a picture to it, gave it a name, and then once you learn it, what do? Now I have to do something and do my piece to kind of alter it, right? I can't let what I know stand, right? So I think, again, it's a really big question, I mean, but like, I'd have to stick with that one, yeah.
For me, I would say it's between two of the classes that I took in grad school. That's evidence in action and values in action. My grad degree was in interdisciplinary studies with a focus on community and social change. But in this values in action class, we learned about, how we read books that were talking about things like where money enters the picture where it doesn't belong. Like there are a lot of people who want to go to school to become an attorney or become a doctor, and their motivation at the beginning might be to change the world. But then they learn as they enter their career that it's like a get down or lay down type of thing, and for the sake of money, they end up giving up all of those motivations that they entered the field with, and it also helped me learn the difference between like a job, a career, and a calling. Individuals who are just trading their time for money versus actually pursuing something that they would do even if they weren't getting paid, and things like that. That was the values in action class. We read books from an author named Barry Schwartz, The Cost of Living. There's just a lot of different, everything just opened my eyes in that class when we're talking about where money enters where it doesn't belong. And then in the evidence in action, we're learning about like different paradigms, different theoretical perspectives, different worldviews. And, it really opened my eyes to the fact because there's a lot of people who can have conversations about a topic and they both can be super passionate about it, but they're kind of talking past each other and over each other and they'll never come to this agreement. And that class kind of helped me realize why. It's like they're coming from different paradigms, they're coming from different worldviews, and they're often not compatible with each other. So what's important to one person, what one person considers to be evidence of truth, or what one person considers to be fact, like the next person might have a completely different, grid for that. So I feel like that class in grad school was really eye-opening as well. That was the evidence in action class where, you learn about like feminism as a worldview, not as, something where, okay, I'm walking around, I'm a feminist, and I hate men, things like that. It's more like there's this worldview that challenges power structures and things like that. So,
They're all ready.
Stay ready, you won't have to get ready.
So my pathway, when I got out, I had started education. Well, maybe this is where. Okay, so here we go. I was just thinking there. So when I got to prison in 2006 in the federal system, I was at a low in Safford, Arizona, up in the high desert there. And what they had there is they had prison industry jobs, they had a weight pile, and they had a prison education program where you could earn an AA in business and some electives, right? I was 36 years old when I got there. I didn't have a GED, right? I didn't have like a trade or a career. I had some skills that I used illicitly, but they were transferable. But to get a better pay grade, so my goal was not to ask my people for money, right? And you can earn a couple $100 in these prison industry jobs a month, right? And so, but to get a better pay grade, you had to get your GED. And so that's why I got my GED. And this, to all you teachers that are out here, it was a teacher that is instrumental in where I am today. Miss Henderson was my GED teacher. I'll never forget her name, because when she got my score, she called me to the office. She said, "Mr. Jackson, your scores are high. You need to get into some of these college classes." And I was like, "Miss Henderson, I'm not here for that. I'm here to get on this weight pile and get this money. That's what I told Miss Henderson, right? But Miss Henderson seen something in me that I didn't see. And she kept calling me on the call out to her office. I didn't mind it because she was cool. She treated us like humans and everything. And eventually she talked me into taking a couple electives. So I took cultural anthropology and I took a counseling course which gave you study skills and stuff like that, right? And lo and behold, I 4.0, right? And I was like, wow, maybe and I enjoyed the whole experience. I hated school as a young person, right? And I enjoyed the whole experience, and the seeds for education for me were planted at that point. But I still had some behavior problems going on. I was a very angry person at that time. I was mad. So couldn't nobody say anything to me. If I thought you were trying to test me, disrespect me, I would just take off. And so what that got me, I was signed up for the next quarter and everything, was a disciplinary transfer to Victorville, California, where now I'm in a space where all of the West Coast politics is on, the riots and all that and everything. But I needed that time and that chaos to heal so that I could be successful in higher education. And so what that meant was learning to get humble, was learning to take responsibility for my decisions and my choices. And I will qualify that with saying black and brown people and poor white folks have a different set of decisions presented to them than people with more privilege. So I always qualify that, but I had to take that responsibility, and I could no longer be mad at everybody else, just myself. And so I decided I didn't like that either. So I forgave myself, and I forgave others, right? And now I was ready to be successful. And also staying clean off drugs. But yeah, so that was probably the most important class, was those first classes, because it planted the seeds for education.
All right, well, thank you. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time for more questions, but I thank you guys for coming up here and sharing your time and your thoughts and your stories with us.
But I got the keys to the building.
And my question is, what drives your passion for this program? Or what is your passion for this program and why are you partaking in it? Like, what's important about it to you?
Darren, can you restate the question first, please?
One more time for our question.
What drives you to fulfill this passion about this program that you guys are in?
So what drives you guys to be in a position to start and have this program for WASCoR? What drives you to do this type of work that you guys are doing?
So my passion related to post-prison education just it sparks from my lived experience. The fact that I was once a young man incarcerated. I released from prison at 23 years old. At the time, I had a GED. You know, I never had a real job, never made any type of legal money. Everything I did was illegal before that. And education really gave me an identity and a new lifestyle. You know, a positive identity. It gave me something that people look at me as a role model and as somebody who actually had a path for their life and was headed somewhere, where before they would look at me more as like a statistic, look, death or prison or what's coming for you, you know? I never imagined when I walked out of that prison gate in 2008 at 23 years old that I would ever have a master's degree or that I would have taught at 3 different colleges or, worked in nonprofits and things like that. I never saw a positive path in my life, period. So the fact that I was able to use education to find that, I just want to help as many other people as possible do the same thing.
That's a huge question. I don't think we have time for that. Right? I mean, what drives me, right, for this, right? I feel like I've arrived, right? right? Because formerly, right, it was all about egocentric, right? Everything was about me, right? There was no external. All right, now I understand that I could like change the course for others, right? All right, people don't have to go through what I went through, right? My family doesn't have to break the cycle, right? Break it. And that's what drives me, right? Is that like, maybe somebody will hear this and won't ever have to live what I've lived. That's about it.
For me, it was when I had a very rude awakening in court, and I was just defending my life with my concealed carry permitted gun. And my lawyer turned to me in court one day, and I was just living my white privileged life, and he turned to me and he said, "You know why you're going home, don't you?" And I said, "Because I'm innocent." And he said, "Because you're white, and you had the money to hire a lawyer." And all in one instant, I didn't go up and tell the judge to put me back in jail, but I said, what am I going to do with this information? And I knew I couldn't ignore it, because the women I had seen in jail were not white. And I knew that God had me see everything I saw for a reason. And when I came back home, my husband, who's sitting right over there, had gone to Evergreen, and he said, "I know what you need to do." And I started, even though I was traumatized by what had happened to me, that got me to that point, I started and I have not looked back. And I think everyone has to have that moment of clarity in their life when they decide if they're going to be part of the solution or part of the problem. And right now, I've been working on a nutrition program because I cannot stand what food is served to incarcerated people across this country. And that is my main concentration, aside from decarcerating the country. And yeah, people need to be treated as fully human and not fed crap while they're incarcerated. So I don't recommend this way of becoming enlightened, by the way, but when you do know, when you find out what's really behind the incarceration system in this country, which is racism, you can't not do something and still look at yourself in the mirror every day.
So, when I got out of prison and started going to school, I had no clue what was coming for me. I had no clue. I didn't see any of this coming, right? And so, I think part of what got me here was my insistence to not live in shame and guilt, right? And talk about my story, right? And so that started opening all these doors for me, right? And so now I can honestly say that I was given this experience by the universe, right? I'm not a religious person, and I'm not against religion, but I'm not a religious person. And so I talk about the energy that connects us all, the universe and everything. So I was given this experience so that I could use it to help other people with shared experience to rise up, right? That's what I understand, and that clarity and that realization really made me where I am today. I live with no regrets, no regrets, right? Because I have a beautiful life today. And I'm not gonna sit here and say it's all easy and cotton candy and all that stuff, because especially these last couple of years, it's been very hard, right? It's been very hard, exposed to mental health stuff and everything. But in the end, right, I was given this gift to help folks with similar experience. And I am essentially a prison abolitionist, but I also understand that change, because it ain't going nowhere overnight, right? And so how do we change it? We get inside the system and we make that change from within, right? And so what that means for me is I'm technically an Evergreen State College employee, but I'm a DOC contract employee. I started going back into the prisons when I was still on federal probation, right? Doing this work, right? Now, Evergreen, we just got a couple buckets of money from the legislator. One of them, sorry, I don't want to bulldoze it, but one of them is, well, they're both it's both capacity building funding, but one of them is $250,000 to create professional certifications for training DOC staff. They want to change the culture. They want Evergreen to help them do that. The secretary of the DOC, Cheryl Strange, is an Evergreen alumni, right? We also got some more funding for an Evergreen prison education program. We got our first bucket of money, $650,000. To build our program. And so Evergreen is going to have a huge influence on the Washington State DOC as we work first towards a more restorative system and then eventually towards abolition. But I would say we're doing that work towards abolition now, right? But anyway, so I was given this experience to come and do this work. And that's what I'm passionate about.
For me, I just like to say 3 words: equity, inclusion, and diversity, right? So this is what we got, you know, we have that right here. And so I see that and I love it. But I am a person that loves time management and manages my time. And I'm not going to take up too much of anyone else's time. We love you guys. Thanks for coming. And we have regular guests that come up here to do this thing. So we thank you guys.
That's exactly what it is. It's coming from the legislature.
Okay, so go ahead and have a seat, my brother. Now you should be minutes. But what I want to do real quick, because we still have some more gift cards, you guys. So what I do, I have some tickets right here that you guys came in. So get your tickets out. I'm going to go ahead and pull a couple numbers here real quick. And if you have your ticket, you have the right number, you're going to get a gift card. So the first number is, last number, 259. 259. Raise your hand. Come on up. 259. Come on up. Here you go. What's your name? Congratulations. All right. The next ticket is 267. 26. Come on up. Come on up. That's your gift card. All right. All right. Yeah. Here you go. All right. What's your name? Congratulations. Okay, I have one more, and this is the coup de grace, right? And this is what I ask you guys to pay attention. It's a visual aid question for you to get this gift card. I've been here and I've changed hats. I wore different hats. You guys noticed that, right? So whoever can come up with a number of hat changes I perform will get a gift card. No. Sir, Bronco. 2? No. How many?
5.
Yes, she won. That was 5 hats. Come on, give me a card. All right. Fun fact about me, I love hats. I think I have over 100 hats. Whether they're winter hats, baseball hats, just hats. I'm that guy. Now you know. All right. So, well, I'm waiting. Okay. Right. So for our last event, and we have a guy who wants to talk about activism and advocacy. It's a call to him, and so we're going to give him time. And his name is Terrence Turner.
What's up, everybody? Everybody doing all right? Probably not where we want to spend most of our Saturdays. Maybe, I don't know. We will have a good time. Interesting. So, spent many days in this place, many moons in this place. So it's interesting to be back. And it's always interesting why we come back, why we congregate. Anybody ever heard the term harder path, higher calling? Okay, I have a hat that says harder path, higher calling. Okay. How many people in here think life has been hard? Show of hands. Life has been hard? All right. Maybe your life was hard for a reason. And maybe it's because you have a higher path, right? So, harder, higher calling, okay? That's how that works. So I just wanted to start with that. Second of all, I know this is about faces of reentry, so we need to put faces, right, to the people who are massively incarcerated, so we can normalize it and humanize it, right? So that's why people are coming up here and showing their faces and bearing their testimony. And I don't know if many of us know how hard that is for a lot of us to get up in front of people, even if they weren't sharing some very intrusive stuff about their life or about their struggles. What I heard up here today was interesting because I heard an array of things. I mean, I heard all over the place, all kinds of beautiful things about growth and development. I also heard something very interesting several times. Somebody kept saying change, agent of change, change. One of my favorite quotes is about change. It's Octavia Butler, right? All that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. The only thing constant in life is change. God is change. That's one of my favorite quotes, so it's just interesting that that was being spoke about tonight. So by a show of hands, I mean, I'm making assumptions here because of why we're congregated. How many people in here know somebody that has been incarcerated? Everyone's hand should be up, right? You don't know about a camera person back there? You don't know a single person? Do you know anybody in this room because they're incarcerated? Everybody's hand should be up, because if you live in America, there's no way in hell you don't know somebody that knows somebody that's incarcerated, right? But that's the problem. We're not allowing it to be right here where it really is, where it's happening at 24/7, because that's uncomfortable. What do we do when things are uncomfortable? We run from that, right? But not today, because caution's here. That's also my synonym acronym. Caution is an acronym that stands for constantly after understanding that inspires opportunity and networking. And I'm here to hopefully inspire some opportunity and networking. How many people in here, by show of hands, have been incarcerated? So this is for you. Locked down for life, no parole. Just another product of the system in a maximum security prison. Guard towers, cold showers, razor wire fences, broken spirits, and vital signs failing, exiled on an island, the rock, in an unforgiving ocean where distortion is the only thing beyond the periphery. That slippery slope of fragility and instability where the nights are long and the days are unequivocally ingrained in our memories. Where every day in this facility is a stain on the fabric of our ability to survive it, to withstand it, to defy it, remain into isolation while the world goes by. It's surprising that the world has no clue to our confinement, that these walls that once inside them continue to divide us and drive us into the darkness away from the light. And it's the height of these walls that's frightening, keeping us in and them out. No doubt, a lifetime indictment, a prison sentence without jurisdiction. a state-appointed commitment in a place with no forgiveness. So we stay in the clutches, in the trenches, in the depths, where the whispers of regret keep us in debt to our own oppressors, where self-pity, self-blame, and self-shame become our autonomic disconnectors to our own receptors, and we are controlled by those tethers that we don't know how to sever, where every day is a test. Every day is a test of paths of failing to carry precious atmospheric pressure that's tragically oppressive, embedded in our epigenetics. Our 23andMe's got us on 23andMes. That's 23 hours in a box. That's 1 hour out for good measure. 1 hour out. That is living in a prison that is inches from now or never. Now being escape, never being too late to escape. A place where time isn't adding up. Time is only slipping away. Clocks are only ticking away. Life's only living in vain. Hearts are only dripping in pain. So tonight, we are planning escape. Tonight, we all the way. Until we crest the other side of this maze, the other side of these gates. Tonight, we are the ones. Tonight, we are the change. We are the ones that we have been waiting for. And tonight, we decided to be free. We decided that we are no longer slaves, that we are no longer enslaved. Tonight, we know that we were made from stars in the skies, that we were never meant to be behind bars, confined, captivated, segregated, separated, incarcerated, or scarred for life. So tonight, we are aligned, and freedom is the prize in our hearts, in our minds, in our souls, in our spines. We are not defined by our past. We are refined by our present ability to survive an environment that doesn't want us to thrive, doesn't want us to see the sun when it shines, but we are the ones that decide what we see and how we see it, what we think and how we think it, what we believe and how we believe it. You see, we are all incarcerated. The only difference is the circumstance of each person's individual incarceration. Whether that person can become conscious of their imprisonment depends solely on self-awareness and self-observation. So I've got to say it, because we sometimes are the prisoners of our own prisons. We are the symptoms of our own systems, gatekeeper to our own sentence, wardens to our own limits. We are the lock and the key. More often than not, we are the only thing that is stopping us from being free. We are the shark and the sea. We are the prey and the predator, the creator and the narrator, the spark and the breeze, the heart and the beat. We are everything that we need. We always have and always will be. Sometimes doing hard time just makes it hard to see. So pardon me. I don't think you heard me. I said, pardon me. Because I have to escape. Because I have to be free. Let that resonate for a second. It's a piece called Alcatraz. I wrote that piece because I can't tell you how many people in the last 25, 30 years I've run across in my life that have no idea that they're incarcerated. Because they walk around with their freedoms or with their privileges, and they don't realize that sometimes we are the worst oppressor of them all. So as we look out to fight this massive beast of oppression and suppression and systemic institutionalized racism and all those big isms, all those big words, what are you doing to fight the oppressor in you? This is something we don't talk about, right? So we're too busy looking out, we're not looking in, right? And I'm not saying look in for the wrong reasons. I'm saying sometimes the only change that needs to happen is the change that happens inside of you. You see, when I was 19, I wrote a piece called Change. And one of the key phrases in that poem is change starts with self and perpetuates outwards from the source. So we can bang our heads against prison walls all day and hope that the system's gonna change. Or maybe you can change, right? So I'm here today to tell you, all of the people that have been impacted, all of the people that have lived experience, how often are you celebrating your freedom? So let's do that real quick. How many people have been out for at least a year? Raise your hand. 2 years, 3 years, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. His hand went down, 20. 20. You've been out for 20 years? I've been out for 21. Everybody clap it up for yourself right now. So let me tell you about the problem with activism, is that you don't have to be part of some group or some organization to be an activist. You start by creating change in your home. You start by creating change in your diet, and your regimen, and your circle. One of the key things that I've been doing for 20 plus years of being free is overexposing myself, showing up at events, speaking at all these things, underserved, underpaid, not paid, whatever, doing all of these things, and realizing that I'm filling everybody else's bucket. Who's filling mine? Interesting, exactly. And then I kept getting upset because nobody else was filling my bucket. Isn't that some shit? It's funny, right? And I was like, participate at your capacity, because this shit will suck the life out of you, okay? Because I've been doing this shit forever. I gotta go back into the same incarcerating facilities that incarcerated me, walk right back through that process, through the razor wire, and sit down and act like I'm regular and comfortable, like all the hair on the back of my neck ain't standing up. Like I didn't just see the guard who used to treat me like shit, and he wanna come shake my hand now, right? So what I'm here today to talk about is self-care, because this gentleman right here was up here talking about it. The one thing that I think is completely underserved right now is mental health. Mental health, mental health. Mental health, mental health. Because I personally am struggling with mental health right now. And you know how much it's gonna cost me to get counseling? $200 for my initial screening, okay? So that makes it inaccessible, right? Because I have to have money, status, privilege, time, opportunity, transportation to make it there to get that service. But the sad reality is that as I become therapy for others, I can't access therapy for myself. So for all you freedom fighters in here right now, there was a beautiful woman that was talking about changing the food inside the prison systems. I think that's a good thing to do, because what we put in our bodies matters, right? It really does. But also, what are we doing for their mental health? Because we know that they have fake mental health inside prisons, right? We know that, but what are we doing when we get out here? How are we addressing our self-care, our self-soothe, right? Because we are all caught in the autonomic trauma response, okay? And it's gonna keep showing up and keep showing up until you realize how to cooperate and operate with that internal system. So that's what I've been doing for 2 years. I had to change everything I was doing. The first thing I did was I cut everybody out of my life, everybody. And then I started reinserting people with intention. I went into my home, I moved everything out of my home, and I placed everything back with intention, right? I thought if it needs to be in my face and it needs to be a reminder, I should hang it up right here so I see it every day, so I value it. I also wake up every day and I say at least 5 or 6 things that I'm grateful for, because by the time I do make it out the door, if I do, I'm gonna be ungrateful for a lot of shit, right? So it's really important to balance this out, because yes, there's strength in numbers, yes, there's strength in community, yes, we need community, but what happens when you can't access your community? What happens when the community just couldn't be there for you at that moment? We gotta figure out how to look in for those answers. My man said that, he said the answers was always inside of myself. Well, they always are. They always are. Maybe we have to dig deeper, maybe we gotta ask different questions. But I'm just here to tell you to look in and take care of yourself. Take care of your mental health, take care of your physical health, take care of your spirituality, and then go fight for freedom. Because the one thing that resonated with me was all these freedom fighters, was all these podcasts, all this amazing stuff. And she said, you know what the fuck am I fighting for freedom when I ain't living it? And that resounded with me like, damn. You know, think about that. We out here doing this every day, but are you really free? Right? And that's what that poem is about, okay? That we all are still in prison until you understand how to unlock that real key of self-awareness, right? And that self-awareness comes with meeting your own needs, right? And Dr. Tate said something really important. She talked about how it was Maxine Mims, she created a space, right? And then you talked about JJ creating a space. Right? So here's what it comes down to. If we don't have it, create it. It's that simple. And don't look for everyone else to do it. Because then they come in with their politics, they come in with their red tape and the bureaucracies and their bullshit, and then your ideology and what you were originally fighting for gets pushed out by politics. So in order to abstain from that, you do it grassroots level yourself. And you do it in your own kitchens. You teach your own kids. You utilize what we have, right? Use what you got to get what you need, right? Right, Dr. Tate? You know that quote, right? That's a Black Panther quote. Use what you got to get what you need. So I'll be done right now. But I do want to say that, okay? The reason I was here today was just to make sure that everybody here is making sure that they're looking into themselves too, okay? As you click together like Voltron and fight the universe. Right? Just remember them, because I'm struggling right now. I'm in a horrible mental health place and I don't have access to mental health. So one thing I know, 25 years of freedom, I don't have 25 years of health services, mental health services. So how can we create mental health services that are accessible for people who have been impacted by the system? Let's plant that seed tonight. Let's figure out how to do that grassroots. Who do you know that's willing to do that in their off time? Right now I have an acupuncturist that does acupuncture for free for people who are in a marginalized position. Maybe we can find other people who are in the same status that would like to do that. Also, just found out, last thing real quick, there's a new app that's coming out for Black and brown people. I don't know when it's going to release, but it's soon. And it's called Eyewitness. Has anybody heard of this? Just me, craziest shit ever. It got sent to me this morning, so I guess I'm supposed to tell y'all. If you're driving as a Black and brown person and you get pulled over, there's an app that you click the button as soon as you get pulled over, and it immediately contacts a live lawyer who will do all the talking for you. So that is some crazy shit. I can't wait to laugh. And you did that. So y'all, last night, stay up.
We're about to close here. Once again, time is money, money is time. So why are you wasting mine, right? No, just simply thank you guys all for coming out. Before you guys go, I want to bring Michelle back up. Just again, one more time, just giving her all the praise and everything, because she's the one that started, right? She started this, right? Just like Terrence was saying. She started, and this is where we're going to go.
She's amazing. Thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for coming out here tonight. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I would just like to put out there, and this was put in my ear just, I believe yesterday, maybe the day before that. These days are kind of running together for me right now with finals and everything else, but women who are formerly incarcerated, just finding a woman to speak here tonight was challenging. And so we need more women. And so I am just putting that out there. If anyone, if you know anybody that is formerly incarcerated, who's just coming out, who needs some support, have them contact us, right? It's not talked about enough.
No, it's not.
It's not talked about enough. That's all I got.
Michelle.
Yes.
My bad. Yeah, I just want to say real quick, 25 years of speaking on panels. It was in this facility in 2017, 2018 was the first time I was ever on a panel with 3 or 4 females. And the stories that they told were so different from anything that I had ever experienced in my life. And so I think it would be really powerful if there could be an all-women panel next time. Right? And that women can come and share their experiences and be elevated and lifting each other up and sharing their crazy experiences that we as men did not go through, right? Because I think it's important, because we have been taking up a lot of space unintentionally, but in order for us to give up that space, we have to understand that first, right? And help support when they're asking for our help and not taking charge.
Yes, so for anyone, as he spoke and as Michelle spoke, when you guys signed in, you had a chance to leave your email address. We'll contact you. We'll send out a link where you guys can share all your interests and to WASCoR, right? We meet once a month, and we actually have FISA, Formerly Incarcerated Student Association, which we meet every Monday. So you're all welcome. So we thank you guys again for coming out and appreciate you for your time. You ain't gotta go home.